Hey guys, it's that week after WrestleMania. We're still here and we're still doing our thing. Please, please, please feel free to get in touch with us tonight at @leveler LOW on Twitter. Give us your thoughts, give us your questions. We'll make sure to answer as many as we can on the show as we welcome you to Lowdown. How are we doing tonight, guys?
Doing good.
Not bad, but
Excellent.
I'm not sure if everybody got the intro because the live tag on my equipment here only just turned on.
It's alright. It's been on mine for a while. I made sure.
Okay.
I got
Yeah,
plenty
your
of
Canadian internet is slow. So.
Yeah.
Canadian internet, Canadian wrestlers. It's all slow.
Hey.
Well, really, you
None
got
of it's
Tyson
real.
Kidd. You got Tyson Kidd.
Well, we had Edge at one point.
So let's get into the obvious question, guys. How did you find WrestleMania?
Mostly good.
It had its high points. It has low points, as you would expect with a WrestleMania. There were some great matches, and then there were some matches you're like, why am I watching this?
Best ending to a Mania in a long time.
Yep. Ending of the streak.
It was a top 3 WrestleMania.
Yeah.
I would definitely say top
Ever.
3. Yeah, ever. Highlight of the night then for you guys.
Cashing.
Okay, Krista, what's your highlight of WrestleMania?
Well, I have two. Sorry.
Oh,
The cash-in, of course, and the IC match.
2. Paul.
Yeah, absolutely. The cash in. I mean, they almost kind of tipped their hand with it, with Rollins getting the win earlier. Putting that match on early in the show. But when 4 hours went by, you totally forgot about it. And then when his music hit, the place exploded. Yeah, it was a great moment.
I liked the cash-in. I thought it was clever. The way we discussed it as well, Chris, you were mentioning about Ambrose being taken out. I thought that was clever. Maybe it wasn't done on purpose, but it's definitely a good storyline link. My highlight, personally, of the night, possibly the Bray Wyatt entrance. I really liked that entrance. I thought it was unusual. It's a shame it didn't happen at night, but still, it was good nonetheless.
See, I hated it in the daytime. I thought it was atrocious.
Well, so was the Undertaker's in the daytime, too. It just doesn't have the same effect.
Yeah, I think that's something. This is why I'm not a big fan of open roof stadiums for WrestleMania.
It's okay, though, because 32 has a roof that can come across it. So that's always a bonus.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah.
I hope that
It did not ruin it didn't ruin the experience for me one bit.
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? The match quality itself was much higher than I expected it to be.
Undertaker was in the. I was going to say Undertaker was in the best shape he's been in for a long time.
Yeah.
Told you so. Moving on.
Oh, are we having that moment that?
Oh, I'm
do I
that
hence
moment.
do I sense a touch of smugness?
Smugness? No, there's not a sense of smugness. There's bucketfuls of smugness.
I was trying to be polite and diplomatic.
Oh, come on, there's no need to be polite about it.
I'm Canadian.
We all knew that if Undertaker was coming back, he had something to prove. And I think definitely he proved that. And going off the rumours that I'm hearing today, so long as they're not April Fool's jokes, which I swear if they are, going off those rumours, it's most likely that we'll see him at WrestleMania 32.
Yeah, he does seem to. The rumour was he was going around telling people he felt great, which after last year is a godsend, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, if you look at last year and then compare it to this year, it's amazing what difference a concussion will do.
Yeah.
I mean, it was clearly obvious this year he was in good shape.
What's that banging noise?
That's probably Paul hitting his head at the thought of another Undertaker match.
No. Oh no! I'm actually putting together an IKEA coffee table.
Oh, an IKEA coffee table. Is that so that you can throw someone through it, or?
Oh no! It's so I can put coffee on it.
Also, just like to point out, this is one of the first years that the Spanish announce table has survived WrestleMania.
It's okay because they're going to break 2 Spanish announce tables next year to make up for it.
Well, the thing is, they made up for it on Raw.
Oh yeah, they did.
Again, it wasn't even the Spanish announce table, it was the normal one.
They didn't even break it. Brock just flipped it, and apparently that knocked JBL and Booker T out.
Not to mention what happened to Michael Cole.
Oh, right. Rest in peace, Michael Cole.
I'm going to say, according to Wikipedia, he died of anal bleeding.
Somebody fix that, though.
Michael Cole suffered anal bleeding at the hands of Brock Lesnar.
Although, if you believe the folks at CagesideSeats.com, he was hospitalized after the vicious Brock Lesnar rampage.
I would honestly love to see the footage from the cameraman's camera, who he attacked. Just that moment that Brock gets really close and then the camera drops.
No kidding.
It would make for a great horror movie.
This is the last thing you will ever see.
Well, that and the floor coming closer to your face. I mean,
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar was on a roll on Monday night. That's how you book a talent.
Yep,
Monday Night Raw, he was one of the most over people on the roster.
he was.
I'm okay with that.
To be fair, after the match at Mania, I can understand why.
Do you know what I don't understand about Mania? Is the people that were getting in Reigns' face on the way to the ring. They were
Even on Raw, the people that were giving him the middle finger, or sort
Yeah.
of, that's a bit more.
What happened to treating your wrestlers with respect? It was almost like treating a prisoner on the way to, like, death row. Like, it's really sick to think about it.
It's ironic because that final match killed the show.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah, do you know what? They could have booked that so much better.
This is the one thing that got me over the past 4 years. Every Raw after Mania has had a big ending, and this
Not
show
this week.
this
This
week
show-
just didn't.
Took it in the ear or up the ass.
Well, that's a big difference.
Well, to me,
Because let's face it, I mean, who closed the show again? Kane and Big Show.
well, to me, if you wanted something to happen in this show, you should have had Ambrose not be the one to challenge Cena. You should have had, Ambrose turn up in the main event to attack, quote, air quotes here, attack Rollins. Reigns hit a spear and hits it on someone like Orton instead. Shield gets back together. Crowd pops like madmen. That's how you send the crowd home happy.
You know what? I'm okay with the way they booked Ambrose. I explained it a little bit in the blog that I wrote today.
The only reason I'm not is purely because I was hoping it would be Finn Balor.
I think too many debuts in one night would kill it.
Yes and no.
Yeah, it was nice though. I mean, the crowd obviously popped every time someone debuted.
Yeah, and the other thing, well, because it was something fresh, and I mean, the product has been stale now for a while, and again, the main event with the whole, chanting same old bullshit, pretty good example of that, where, we've had the same thing for so many weeks in a row. And it was something new, it was something fresh, it was new talent that people aren't used to seeing on that level, on that stage, new matchup that we aren't used to seeing. I mean, there's only so many times that we can watch Roman Reigns in a 6-man tag match against Seth Rollins and either J&J Security or Kane and Big Show.
I mean, there was something that we discussed this week, and that was essentially the way the crowd responded at both Raw and Mania. The crowd towards the Divas at Raw was one of the most disrespectful crowds I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, they were.
It's the night after Mania, and you want to be, excited and outgoing, and you're part of the show, but there's a limit, and
Yeah,
I think the crowd definitely crossed it.
The Divas got more disrespect than they should have. The main event seemed to. I've heard there was some personal chants in the main event. I personally couldn't hear them because they've turned down the crowd apparently.
I'd need to go check it.
But the chants I did hear, I didn't mind.
I think at one point there was a "Die Big Show Die" chant.
No, I know there was a "Please retire."
Yeah, there was definitely a "Please retire."
To be fair, "Please retire." I can go with that. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, and I could too, but there's please retire, and then there's being obnoxious about it.
There's "Please retire," and then there's "You
Die.
suck, Brian."
Yeah.
Well, and you know, there was a lot of disrespectful chants out there.
But it's hard to justify because at the same time, I understand you pay for a ticket, you see the show, you get to say, what you want. It's free speech, and that's America. But there's a limit, and it's just called being polite.
Yeah, I've got a list of some of the chants that were up. There was same old shit, this is boring, NXT, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, Finn, how you doing, soft, worse than Cena, please retire, we deserve it, we want Ryback.
Is that just from the main event?
That was just from the main event.
I can see we want Ryback. I mean, that's not bad.
It could have been worse.
Could have been worse.
Please retire and worse than Reigns. That's fair play,
Yeah, and that's fine. But when it crosses the line between, saying how you feel and being derogatory to somebody, that's not on. Like, you paid to be a ticket on the show, but I guarantee you, if the person who's sitting next to you who paid a ticket to see the show turned to you and went, made a derogatory comment, you would not be so cool about it. But they paid their ticket, they got to sit there.
But to me the issue is, and you look at last year's, there are a lot of people, no, not last year, 2 years ago in New Jersey, you have a lot of people that are saying, the New Jersey crowd is disrespectful. New Jersey crowd didn't actually do anything disrespectful per se.
No.
They were just, they just stopped caring about the match. And fair play, if you pay to be entertained by a show and the show isn't entertaining you, you entertain yourself. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
You're paying to be entertained, and if they're not living up to it, then you take it into your own hands. GJ, that's acceptable.
Yeah.
The Mexican Wave I personally loved for this year, purely because even Seth Rollins couldn't get the crowd to stop doing the Mexican Wave.
I loved that WWE acknowledged the wave and used the camera to follow it. However, that leads to the issue that fans will try bigger things and get more attention for it.
But the issue here is if the crowd is the highlight of the show, maybe you should book your show better.
Yeah, and it pushes people to do things to get the attention, like those guys that dressed up in costumes. Now, hey, if they feel comfortable going to a show in wrestling gear and they're sitting on the side of the ring, what's the big deal? A lot of people claim, well, they're distracting. If a wrestler cannot keep his focus in the ring, regardless of what's going on the outside of him, he has no business being in the ring. It is no different than anybody else doing what they do. Be it any kind of sports. Any kind of sports. If they're distracted, then they need to rethink.
Where did that come from?
Well, this is all I'm saying, though, is that, again, it's a fine line.
I agree with Chris in that they should book the show better.
Yes.
However, crowds can be volatile, and you're not always going to know how your crowd react.
Exactly.
I'm not going
Hey, hold on. Those girls in that 6-man tag, they went up there and they busted their fucking asses. That
yes.
was worth
They did.
Perfectly.
Appalling now.
Yeah. That match was fine, and then those assholes decided to hijack the show.
Appalling.
What, the main event?
They crushed it.
I wouldn't say
I said the women's.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
The women's
match.
The
women's match.
Yeah,
the Divas.
Yeah, they crushed it, and then those. Yeah, and those assholes, they took over the show. So
and
that's
what that segment will be remembered for the crowd, not for those women in the ring busting their ass. It'll be remembered for those guys making snotty comments.
But you've got to give comment. At least those chants reference Total Divas.
Hey guys, hashtag give Divas a chance. Just remember that.
Hashtag give different Divas a chance, not just Nikki and briefly.
Well, that's the thing. They didn't. They had Natalya and they had Naomi out there as well.
Yeah.
And like they all busted their ass. They did their jobs. Even looking at WrestleMania, Natalya was actually really good. Even just being at the side of the ring, she was being that managerial role for a change.
She was doing the role that she was given.
I really just wanted to have Charlotte debut.
It would have been nice. It would have been nice.
To me, it would have been nice if they'd had all the top levers in the ring and AJ, and then you just get Charlotte walks out and shit gets real. That would have been fine.
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's also, you have to do that with a light hand because you could also run into the problem where she decimates the roster, and then where does she go from there?
She doesn't have to interact with them. She just has to walk out and stand at the top of the ramp and watch the match or something like that.
Too many debuts in one night would ruin it, though, because a debut then becomes less important.
Yeah.
I slightly disagree because to me, I am very, very, very bored of the roster right now. I feel that there are certain people in the roster who should not be in the positions they are in, e.g. the New Day, the Ascension. Well, the Ascension is not really a valid argument. You know.
Okay, I'll step
Big
in.
Show Kane, for example.
Yeah, I was gonna say Big Show and Kane, I understand, but New Day and Ascension, I don't get, because without New Day and Ascension, you take away half of your tag team division.
Yeah, you don't have a tag team division, really.
New Day, I think, just need to be repackaged and reworked, not necessarily removed. Big Show and Kane are better examples of people that need to be given backstage positions rather than, be in the ring every single week. Right? Surely Vince has figured out by now that the crowd seems to boo every segment they're in.
And they could even potentially move Kane and Big Show to, say, part-time status where they only come out every so often so the crowd does not get bored of them.
Yeah.
So that becomes, oh my gosh, it's Big Show. He comes out, he does his thing, and then he's gone for a month or two. And then he comes back.
I'll kill two birds with one stone. Put the mask on Kane, have him attack the Authority, and then Big Show Kane have a retirement match. Whoever loses retires. In this case, it would be Big Show. And then you'll get Kane walking around for 6 months before he leaves.
Well, and I think the problem they have with Big Show not retiring him is that he takes whatever they give him, and he does it. And I think a lot of times it has to do with his interaction with the fans, because I've heard from a few people that, people love him.
Oh, yeah.
When they're interacting with him.
He's a really nice guy.
Oh, yeah,
he's an incredibly nice guy.
He's a nice guy, but he's past it in the ring. And the issue that I've got, and I actually agree with what Craig just said, because you have the issue where you could have Kane put on the mask. You could then even have someone like Wyatt or Finn Balor go after Kane. Obviously, Finn Balor, the Inner Demon thing, Bray Wyatt, you've got the whole Undertaker thing, and you can have one of them retire him.
Isn't Balor a face?
Okay, guys, he is, yeah. Let's answer a question from one of our fans that came in. At Jeremy8911 has said, if you could have two guys replace Kane and the Big Show in the Authority, who would they be?
Luke Harper.
Right, that's one. Now name another.
Rowan.
No, I wouldn't have Rowan.
Rowan's face, and he went against the Authority. You got to remember that.
Yeah,
that's true. But it would be a good thing it would be a good way for him to turn.
I'd say the Ascension.
I'd have Harper be one because I'd have him scrub up and be in a suit. I think that'd be a cool image to have of him becoming, and I hate to say it, corporate in that sense. I think it'd be cool to see him do it. Because obviously, it wasn't as cool. It was cool with Kane, but it wasn't as cool because we've seen Kane without the mask before. I actually want to see what Luke Harper would look like with like a trim beard and his hair sort of cut and done nicely, and him in a proper suit. That'd be pretty goddamn cool.
So, who would you replace him with?
Well, considering Sheamus debuted on Raw, I could see him replacing one of the big men because he's a big guy. And he's come back as a heel, apparently. And he basically took out Bryan and Ziggler, so he would be a good fit for the Authority. If not maybe in the suit area, but more as, say, their muscle, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And, because he has positioned himself to look like to be starting a feud with Bryan. So that would be a way to do it.
Wade Barrett.
And I'd agree with Chris. Wade Barrett would be another one to put with the Authority because he's a heel. and it'd be interesting.
Wade Barrett already owns a suit. Just put him with the Authority. It's done.
And he's the one guy that can go out there and wear a suit, look like a part of the Authority, and still get into the ring without looking like Corporate Kane, and put on a good match. And he's, he would be really, really good with that
I
respect.
wouldn't be surprised to see something like that. Paul, what's your thoughts? Who would you replace Big Show and Kane with?
Cesaro and Sheamus.
Cesaro would be good.
Cesaro could work.
But Cesaro doesn't do heel really well.
He does.
Yeah, but he does.
He only does if he's not talking.
Gonna say he does without. He does without piece.
He does vicious beatdowns well, and that's what they.
Yeah.
Do.
Yeah.
So does Sheamus.
Just as long as he doesn't talk.
Mm-hmm.
Because he doesn't.
That's why
he can't pull off the heel persona when he's doing his own promos.
And let's move on to the next question we've had then. What did you guys think of Adrian Neville's debut, and did you like the cape? And that's from JBone5150.
Adrian Neville's debut. One, give them credit for giving him some goddamn pyro, and even Brock Lesnar didn't get it both times. You've got to give them credit for that. I'm not a big fan of how the display board went wrong, and there was like a couple. I'm sure you guys noticed there was like a square on the lower display board whereby it wasn't. Yeah, that was a bit embarrassing. But I like the cape on Neville. I like the cape. It makes me wonder if they're going to go ahead with the Mighty Mouse thing, because well, this is the thing that gets me. Everyone seems to assume that Mighty Mouse character means a Mighty Mouse costume. Doesn't necessarily mean it.
No, it just means playing into his size. I agree with Chris. I love the cape. It's not like he wears it in the ring, and it's no different than the Dusters, the Gold Dust Brothers, or the Dust Brothers wore, or anyone else wears. Or even what Wade Barrett wears to the ring.
Here's
I like the cape, and I love the fact that they let him keep his finisher.
They weren't exactly going to take that away from him, though, were they? Jesus.
Wow.
What are you
Look what they gave Wade Barrett as a finisher, the bullhammer elbow.
That was only because the one looked bad.
Paul, what was your thoughts on the cape? I know you're not fond of the obscenely flashy, so.
Oh, the cape was fine. I mean, as long as he's not wrestling in it and he doesn't come out with a big pointy hat looking like a fucking wizard, it's okay. He is now the man that Vince lost his first name, so that's nice. Now he's just Neville because we're not fucking smart enough to do two names with guys.
Yeah,
he'd only be one name.
He got the Cesaro treatment.
He's the man that gravity forgot, and also the man first names forgot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But his opening match though, that was a perfect way to showcase him in an absolute squash match.
With Curtis Axel of all people.
I'll go out on it and say I hate the cape. I loathe the cape.
Yeah, I saw your comment about the Incredibles.
Dear God, the man walked out and he just looked like a tiny pair of feet and this block, a big purple block. Like, if you want to make a guy have impact, have him come out with pizzazz, I get that. Flair used to wear a robe. Have him wear a robe. I'm cool with a robe. You don't need to have him wear a purple bin liner over his head.
Cesaro wore a robe, so he can't really do a robe. And Damien Sandow did robes forever.
So let's give him a towel. Give him a Val Venus towel. Chris, I want to cover up a point for you here. You asked what Harper would look like in the Authority in a suit.
I've seen the picture.
Oh, it's beautiful. Look at that, guys. We can all see this.
Is that actually Harper?
That's actually Harper. That's young Harper.
When he had, all his hair.
He needs to trim the beard, though. That's all he's missing there.
I'm going to be honest. That man is Jason Lee. I don't care what anyone says.
Yeah, he is.
He's Jason Lee's long-lost brother.
Oh,
his name is Luke. I want to see that show.
My name is Earl. His name is Luke.
It's a spin-off show. It's brilliant.
That is brilliant. I enjoy that. Let's hit off with one of our favorite
He actually
segments
looks
then.
kind of like you too, Craig. You know that.
Right, go jump off a bridge, right?
No.
Listen, the next time that Big Show decides to have a child, he can just not, if that's what it's going to look like. Let's jump onto our favorite segment, Pop and Heat. Chris, I know you're probably dying to give me a decent Heat segment this week. You always are.
I'll start with the pop. The pop this week goes to, and this includes Mania, the debuts on the main roster. I am so happy that we're getting some fresh blood on the main roster. I mean, like I said, the product feels stale right now for me. New blood helps refresh that completely. My Heat of the week goes to either the main event of Raw or Sting Triple H at Mania.
Ooh.
Because I'm not being funny here, and I get that it was a huge thing for everyone to be able to see, oh, it's NWA versus DX. I didn't give a shit. I wanted to see Sting versus Triple H. I didn't want to see, the NWA, and I didn't want to see Vince McMahon's ego about beating WCW. I also didn't want to see it be a no-holds-barred match because they brought that out of goddamn nowhere. Oh, hey guys, welcome to the pre-show, and oh yeah, that match that starts in 2 hours is now going to be a no-holds-barred match.
But it's not the first time they've done something like that, and it won't be the last. I mean, Michael Cole mentioned it at least twice during the match, and it was mentioned before the match, and it was mentioned on the Raw before Mania.
It wasn't mentioned on Raw. I've checked, it was not mentioned on Raw. The first time it was mentioned was on the pre-show.
Well, okay, so it was on the pre-show, but people still knew, though.
Yeah, but once you've already placed your bets going into WrestleMania, it doesn't really do you favours when they start changing the fucking rules.
So
So this is all about the fact that you had money on it.
No. I mean, that's not all of it, because obviously I was wrong about Wyatt and the main event, so it's I would have lost the bets anyway. So that doesn't bother me, but it's the fact that they decided to change it on the fly without actually... If it's going to be a hardcore match, advertise it as a hardcore match. If it's going to be a no-holds-barred, advertise it as a no... If it's going to be a cage match, advertise it as a cage match. If it's going to be anything, advertise it. You don't say, oh, hey guys, this is going to be a singles competition, then turn around on a pay-per-view and be like, well, it was going to be a singles match, but now it's a singles match in a Hell in a Cell with an Inferno-style ring. Because people are paying for one thing and getting another.
Okay. Paul, what's Pop and Heat, man?
Pop goes to WrestleMania as a whole, but I covered that on Wrestling Buddies, which you can hear right there on levelsofwrestling.podbean.com and our app. So go download that.
Oh, the shilling.
On Google Play.
Like that. But besides that, though, Brock Lesnar fucking killing everybody on Monday and showing why he is the most special talent that WWE has right now. The guy is just a walking main event. He's unbelievable.
I also feel it's important to point out the fact Brock Lesnar listens to the fans more than Vince McMahon. One more time, he does it one more time. F5, he does it F5. It's... I mean, when they chant it one more time, and he sort of stops, listens to the crowd, and picks him up and does another F5, and everyone's like, yeah.
Well, if there's one thing we know about Brock Lesnar is that he does not deal with instruction well, so he will do what he fucking well pleases. So yeah, he definitely gets my gold star of the week. My heat goes to obviously that crowd there on Monday.
Whoa.
Okay. Krista, Pop and Heat.
Okay, well, I'll do my heat first. I'm going to... It was Chris that said it. I'm going to agree. It was the main event of Raw. Like that 6-man tag with Rollins and Big Show and Kane, like against Orton, Ryback, and Reigns. It struck me as being very haphazard, very last-minute thrown together. I don't really care to see Big Show and Kane team up with Rollins for the upteenth time, and it has been the upteenth time, to close out Raw. If they had done the spot with Lesnar where he was suspended and he did the F5s or whatever to the announce table and to Michael Cole and the cameraman, if that had closed out Raw, that would have been an interesting ending to Raw. Because all of us would have sat there going, holy shit. what now?
Hell, even if Brock Lesnar would come out at the end and F5 Rollins or something.
Yeah, it would have been a shocker. It would have kept fans guessing, like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen now? But instead, they kind of went back to the same old, same old. It's like the Sunday night pot roast.
To quote the crowd, same old shit.
Yeah. It's like the Sunday night pot roast you serve every week because you're too scared to experiment with anything else. My pop definitely goes to the debut. I think they did it very well.
Which one?
Both. I like that they put the Lucha Dragons in with a bunch of the the more tenured wrestlers, but they still were able to highlight. Kalisto definitely got to have his spots where he got to highlight what he can do. Standing on the shoulders of the wrestler and then doing the backflip. I mean, hey, that was a good spot. And having Neville come out, it was a squash match against Curtis Axel, but that's traditional. Every wrestler that debuts on the roster does a squash match when they debut, if they're a solo or a singles wrestler. Okay. So, but that's my pop, is the debuts for both. Okay,
so my pop and heat. Do you know what my pop? My pop goes to Brock Lesnar. Same as Paul, really. He did just destroy literally everything in sight on Raw. My only real issue with that segment was I wish they'd done it maybe later in the night.
Yeah.
But that's okay. I kind of have two heats.
There's a reason. I'd just like to point out the reason they did that was to help with the viewers in the second hour, which have been dropping.
Yeah.
Yep.
I would.
And it proved, because the numbers did go up for the second hour, and then they dropped back down for the third hour.
They did. I'm going to mention two heats because I'm greedy. First heat, Byron Saxton being left on his own on commentary. Now, this is no fault of his. That was Vince on his own.
That was Vince's fault.
Yeah, that was like throwing a deer out in front of a moving lorry. Just don't.
Bless his heart, though, because he did give it a college try.
And the thing is, he started off sounding shaken up, which is how he was meant to sound. But as the night went on, it turned out he wasn't doing it in character. He was just shaken up. I mean, that's fine. It was his first time on Raw on his own.
With a WrestleMania crowd.
I think it's a lot of pressure to throw a new announcer out there and expect him to solo announce Monday Night Raw in front of the crowd.
Let alone the Raw after Mania.
The Raw after Mania.
To me, if you were going to throw out an announce team, you should have sent out Byron, Corey, Albert, and Renee. That would have just... Everything would have fallen into place then.
Or even sent him out with William Regal.
Yeah, send him with Regal. My second heat goes to the fact that I actually didn't want Reigns on this episode of Raw.
Same.
I think having him back on this episode was silly. They should have waited and held him off at least a week. Or have him show up on SmackDown, maybe with bandages on his ribs or something like that.
To make him look like he actually took the beat down.
Exactly. If they don't want him to be Cena Point 2 or 2.0 or, the Superman that everyone keeps calling him, show that he can be injured. We've seen him laugh.
Yeah. But that's the issue. This is Vince's mentality of, face of the company takes no beating. It's like, well, we're pretty sure we just saw him get like 10 suplexes, 3 F5s, 4 F5s, a couple of curb stomps. I'm pretty sure he'd be beaten down by that.
I mean, even Lesnar showed up with, cuts and shit.
Yep, exactly.
And Reigns showed up with nothing.
So sadly,
Wait,
if that was the case,
sell it.
But then they should have done that with Ambrose too.
Yeah, and I'm really kind of annoyed about that as well.
Ambrose and Cena that night. I mean, Ambrose should have been selling the head injury he had from the ladder. And they kind of felt for the whole match they were just a step behind each other.
I felt that it was a very bland match, and that's not of either of those. But yeah, I do agree. Again, Ambrose and Reigns are two guys I feel should have been kept off. You could have had someone like Mark Henry come out and challenge Cena.
Or even have Rosner or whatever his name is, Rusev, come out and say, I want my title back.
Rusev would have been a good shout, but I think they need to show that he's not varied, and hence why he had the squash match.
Well, a better idea. Why not have Neville debut in a match against Cena?
That's how Cena did it with Angle.
Yeah.
This was my thought. I was actually thinking Finn Balor would come out and give very much, not identical instruction, only says what you have, and it was ruthless aggression. I was hoping for Finn Balor to come out and do something similar with Cena.
Okay, I get that they're bringing up all the debuts, and not all the debuts, sorry, they're bringing up some of them. They need to keep the main faces on NXT to keep people watching.
That'll be Sami Zayn and Hideo Itami.
Yeah, but then you've got Kevin Owens and you've got Finn Balor. Those 4 guys are now there, and they're going to be there for a while.
Finn Balor should come up in my eyes. We should be left with Sami Zayn as the main face of NXT. You've got Hideo Itami as your backup. Then you have Kevin Owens and Tyler Breeze as your main heels. And possibly Baron Corbin.
Yeah, Corbin can wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, those are the guys who are saying NXT. Balor is to me a guy that should be up on the main roster because he's ready for it. Same with Zayn, but Zayn, we recognise that he is NXT's face essentially, and people still want Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn to last for a while.
Yeah.
I'm more interested in seeing them develop new faces to take over from Zayn and Owens, so that they can be brought up. You know, this time next year we can have Zayn and Owens on the main roster. I mean, I actually find it weird that we've had Neville come up and we've had Kalisto come up, but we haven't had the best ones come up.
Well, no, Kalisto's been, you know, they were saying they were going to bring up Kalisto for ages.
Oh,
he was originally going to come up with his hairdresser gimmick, God help him.
Yeah.
That got shut down, I think, by a lot of people.
And Neville's been rumoured since TLC. So.
Yeah. And I like that they brought Kalisto up with Sin Cara. You know,
it's like the relevance to Sin Cara again.
Yeah, well. It makes Sin Cara a little bit. It keeps him from being the joke that he is now, because now that you see them work together.
How else would he go?
They got to dump. They got to dump Sin Cara from him because Kalisto had a star-making night on Monday.
Yeah.
He has to get away from him.
I think Sin Cara is probably going to turn heel.
Forget to turn heel. I think Sin Cara's going to drop off the face of the earth. I think Sin Cara will drop off the face of the earth sooner or later, and it'll just be Kalisto.
Yeah, I think Sin Cara turns heel, and then Kalisto beats him, and then that's it.
Yeah, and then Sin Cara disappears, and then we get Himiko.
I wouldn't mind that if Sin Cara could talk properly, but obviously because of the mask, he can't.
Well, he can now, though.
Well, he can. I get that, but with the mask, it's still goddamn weird, and I hate not being able to see facial expressions and stuff in a match. It just ruins the match completely. So I'm not a big fan of having Kalisto versus Sin Cara as a feud or a match. I'd rather just Sin Cara one day vanishes off the face of the earth and we'll never have to see him again.
See, you're the problem with the show. People demand that they get closure on a storyline, and then you're asking for something just to be open-ended. Like, that doesn't work. We can only have it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Well,
like, people wanted to know the ending to the CM Punk story and why he didn't come back.
Well, do you really want to sit down and watch a Sin Cara versus Kalisto match?
Shit, yes, because they will have an awesome fight. Like, that's 2 luchadors going at it on a WWE stage.
And it's not like it has to be a 20-minute match.
No, that's true. That's
like,
it could be a 10-minute match.
5-10 minutes, yeah.
Yeah, you know, in the second hour.
SummerSlam.
Yeah, or, you know, put it in a pay-per-view and have them just, you know, go at it. I wouldn't mind seeing a, you know, kind of all-out luchador match where they're just going.
If it's a luchador match, if it's a luchador match, give them a TLC match and I'm sold.
Yes.
Jesus, we don't see enough luchadors do TLC.
You know, and I think they should, because there is a market out there for that, why not tap into the market?
Well, I'd also like to point out this is the most viewers that Raw has had in about 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
Now watch it drop the minute next week happens.
Oh, it will. Mostly because of that main event. If you have a crowd like that, and you have an audience like that, you cannot afford to have a single match drop off and the main event.
I wasn't meaning because of the main event. I mean because it's not the week after Mania.
Oh
You're
yeah,
going to lose a good
but,
20% of your viewers.
yeah, but
Well,
even
and
then,
that's
they could have kept more if the main event was up to scratch. You know.
well,
That
and
could
this
have,
is just it. Sorry, Chris, go ahead.
I was going to say, you know, if you send fans home happy with, I mean, you know, to me, all it would have taken if Finn Balor had a debut to Cena's Open Challenge, there probably would have been best Raw ever chance from that crowd. It wasn't far off from being a damn good Raw, one of the best one in years. And I feel like the main event was the main thing that dragged that down. The entire Raw sort of fell off. You know, it was going up the chart, then it just dropped. Like the Wall Street crash, you know, everything just went to shit in that. If they had done that better and if they had had a better main event, they probably would have kept more fans interested who would have turned in next week as well.
Yep.
I'm going to say something that hopefully Paul agrees with. It's not about keeping the fans happy every week. You need to make sure as a business that your product is flowing. There are going to be up points, and you had 2.5 hours of up points. One down match isn't going to do any damage. You look at that match, and you actually had 3 of your biggest stars in that match at the moment. You had Reigns, you had Rollins, and you had Orton.
Yeah.
Now, 2 of those guys at least are going to go into a match at Extreme Rules. So there's your storytelling aspect.
But the issue is 4 out of 6 of those guys are not over massively with the crowd. Okay, you can argue 3 of them are. The other 3 aren't.
Right. But the thing is, Reigns is over. Like, Reigns is over, regardless of what people think.
Not with that crowd, and that's the impression that you
But
get.
it's not
That's the
about
problem.
the crowd in the arena. That's your crowd at home.
I completely disagree.
Yeah,
because
the
crowd
guy
in the arena massively influences how the fans at home feel.
the guy just main evented WrestleMania.
Like,
That's it.
while your crowd in the arena does affect the feeling of the show at home, the crowd also made me want to turn off.
Yep.
Like, they didn't make me
Yeah,
want
guess
to
what?
watch.
Guess what? Curtis Axel's over with a live crowd. That doesn't mean that he's going to main event any show, not even main event or superstars.
But I'm not going to lie. It's the fact. The main event, as soon as I saw the main event, I wanted to turn off, not because of the crowd, but because I knew exactly how that match was going to go. And as soon as Roman Reigns walked out, I thought they've just screwed this up.
Yeah, but you're not a casual
Well,
watcher, though, Chris.
No.
This is the thing that people need to...
Even for the casual viewer, you have to keep in mind how much influence the live crowd and the live crowd reactions, how much influence that will have over a casual viewer watching from home.
But at the same time, you've then got the casual viewers watching at home who have seen that match and have seen WrestleMania and now want to know what's going on with Reigns. Like, you don't watch the main guy in the main event at WrestleMania and then have him do nothing for 2 weeks. So they're going to watch next week just seeing where he's going.
Or will they? We'll see from the viewers.
They will. And the viewers mean nothing because, like we said, the viewers will drop. In fact, they'll probably lose a lot of, long-term viewers until probably SummerSlam.
Yeah.
But then you're going to have new viewers who've watched WrestleMania stay. So the numbers won't drop all that much, but they also won't stay relative to what you saw this week.
No, I don't expect them to stay relative to this week, but I'm saying they will be lower than they could have been.
And I'd like to point out that they don't indicate where the viewers are, and I'm pretty sure the numbers they use are American viewers.
Yep.
And not global viewers. That's the thing.
Completely correct, because it all works off, is it the Nielsen system?
Nielsen ratings.
Yeah.
And not every household has the box in their house. So it may be 2 million Nielsen, people who have the Nielsen rating system in their home, but they could realistically have, say, 4 million viewers for people who are not on the Nielsen rating. I'm pretty sure we don't have it in Canada. So you could have 1 million viewers in Canada and not be aware of it. That's how all shows, not just Raw and SmackDown, are viewed on their popularity. That's why shows get canceled.
Also one of the reasons that WWE promotes USA storylines rather than European storylines.
Exactly. And why they tie in to USA channel shows is because they're on the network. I have no idea why SmackDown's on Sci-Fi, but whatever. You know, that's why Sheamus was on a USA cable program, TV show. You know, it's kind of helping to promote.
On that
And
blunt
this is it.
statement, guys, we are halfway through the show. If you feel like tweeting in any questions, feel free to send them to @leveler_LOW. Maybe you want to discuss something we've already spoke about and give us your thoughts on it. Let us know. We'll read it out in the show. So obviously, as we come into the second half, we've got a couple of segments that I want to hit up on. And one of these is what I would call my brainchild. I'm going to give you the equivalent to a hot or not segment, and we're calling this On the Level. Plain and simple, guys. I'm going to give you a choice, and you need to tell me whether something is on the level or whether it has flopped. Okay? The storyline with Damien Sandow and The Miz, is this still on the level or has this flopped?
Flopped.
It's on that edge of the abyss where one wrong move and it'll flop like a wet cow patty.
It's dragged on for too long.
They do need to pull the trigger. I will agree with Chris. They need to pull the trigger and soon.
They should have pulled the trigger at Mania, and there was no better time to pull the trigger than Mania.
Oh, agreed. Absolutely, 100% agree with you, Chris. It should have been pulled at WrestleMania, so they have to pull it in the next 2 weeks. Otherwise, it'll just
next week in order to keep up for Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
Paul, what do you think? Flopped or is it on the level?
It would appear that we've lost Paul. Nice.
No, his picture's still up.
I know, but it's not there.
Okay. Roman Reigns, on the level or flopped?
This is a 50-50 one, to be honest with you. I feel like he's... I wouldn't say he's flopped, I'd say he's on a downward slope. Like, that's, yeah.
He needs to have a reset on his character.
Yeah, he needs to go down to the mid-card for a little while, have a couple matches in the mid, not dominate the mid-card, have a couple of decent matches in the mid-card, have a story feud instead of a title feud, where he can develop his character, and where people will start to give a shit about him. Because when you look at all the stars, you look at guys that have been over with the crowd, like Daniel Bryan, like CM Punk, like Dolph Ziggler, they are most popular after a story feud, not a title feud.
Yeah.
And this was the thing that they had with going into WrestleMania. There was no story to it. It was just, oh, he's won a Royal Rumble and he gets a match. What they freaking do? There was
I agree.
There was nothing really personal about that match. Because I know that they brought up the whole Brock Lesnar doesn't respect you, but that wasn't focused on. That wasn't made a key point. That was just sort of a tidbit that they threw in afterwards.
Yeah,
they needed to give him a story.
I agree with Chris. He needs a storyline. Everybody cared about Bryan when he was going up against the Wyatts. He didn't have a title. He didn't have really anything about that, but everybody was rooting for Daniel Bryan. I mean, I do not recall them rooting for him as hard when he was part of Team Hell No.
I recall him rooting for him just as hard when he was against the Authority, because it was a story being told of him being screwed.
Yeah, it was a storyline feud that resulted in a title, but the storyline came first.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what Reigns needs. He needs a storyline, not a title feud.
And he needs a good storyline feud, like something that would really get the audience to be invested. That's the whole point of sports entertainment, and these gentlemen and women, sorry divas, that embody these characters. They want us to be invested in them, and nobody's really invested in Roman Reigns because he's still too one-dimensional.
Yeah.
There's not a three-dimensional character there. If you put him down, don't put him in the low card, because no. But you put him in the mid card. You put him with some of this, tenured mid card guys, who would be an interesting person to have a storyline feud with, and have it come up with something legitimate, not a pissing contest feud. I hate those, but something really substantial that would keep people tuning in.
Well, my idea would be if they had this Daniel Bryan Sheamus feud and Sheamus ultimately loses, you then have Sheamus talk about, how he is the best, how he's the toughest wrestler there. You then have Roman Reigns come out and say how he's talking a load of crap, but you have him get aggressive about it. You have him say, you're stating the claim here, that's not the case. You have it be a personal feud. You don't have it be it's not just a pissing contest. It kind of is, but at the same time, it's more to that. It's a personal feud. It's a personal story.
It's about their, not so much, well, yeah, it's about their egos.
Yeah, and they should both be pointing out each other's flaws at the same time, making it more personal.
Okay,
And,
Paul.
Can I just have one more thing to say about that. Sorry. My favorite thing about Reigns is when he was being that jokey, kind of cheeky persona. Where he was kind of trying to butter up the ladies or whatever, and that kind of just, he's joking around, but there's that undercurrent of some kind of smarmy, slick persona. I really like that. The whole, stoic, believe that kind of, gimmick just wasn't doing anything for me at all.
See, I'm the opposite. I agree that was impressive, but I feel like at this point in time, it'd be better for him to get really serious personal and just be like, well, screw you.
Fair enough.
Okay, quickly, Paul. Has Roman Reigns flopped, or is he on the level?
He's on the level. I don't know what fans want out of him. 6 months ago they wanted him to be the guy. They let him be the guy, and now that's not what they want.
I don't even think the fans know what they want. I don't think the fans know what they want.
I think the fans expected more character development coming out of that, and that was something that unfortunately it was mostly because of his injury, but we didn't get it. No. And you can't push a man without any character, because when you push a character that isn't a character, you're pushing essentially a guy that can throw out a spear, a Superman punch, and GG. That's about all he can do. He can't tell. Without a character, you can't tell a good story.
Don't forget the Samoa drop.
They managed it with Daniel Bryan.
Hold on, he told a masterful story there at WrestleMania against Brock Lesnar.
I'm not talking I'm not talking about a story in the ring. I'm talking about a story outside the ring, an overall storyline. You're not just having a match and telling a story. You're telling an actual story outside the ring as well.
Yeah, like the promos and the backstage vignettes and all that kind of stuff.
And the character development and that sort of stuff. That's what people are after.
Hey, guess what? Goldberg had zero character and was the most over guy in the wrestling business for a couple of years.
Yeah, but that was Goldberg.
That was a one-off.
Why does it?
He was the hottest guy. He was the hottest guy in the world for 2 years.
And why does it need to be a one-off though? It can be done again if booked in the correct way.
But it's not booked in the correct way, and that's the problem. It's booked in a way that he is now seeing a version 2.0 in that sense. He takes a beating every match because he doesn't have a moveset. Then he makes his 2-3 minute comeback and gets the pin. Congratulations!
Yep, 5 moves of doom. Yeah, but only 3.
No. Okay, hold on. Jerry Lawler is one of the greatest wrestlers in the history of the business, and he put on 5-star matches using a punch, a headlock, and a pile driver. Having 800 moves doesn't mean a fucking thing if you don't know how to use them.
But Jerry Lawler has charisma, creepy as he is. But he has charisma. Roman Reigns is a void.
The other thing is, it's not just about having 5 or 6 moves. It's about being able to tell a story using those 5 or 6 moves. With Roman Reigns, to me, every time he gets in that ring, he tells the same story.
It's the same as Cena. Cena tells the same story.
WrestleMania.
I would have bought more into that match at WrestleMania if Reigns had come out looking injured. That's the thing. If he was taped up, if he had scratches on him or a bandage or something, even if the injury wasn't actually underneath the bandage, it would have made the beatdown more believable. But if he rolls out, there's no visible beating that he took. It just kind of no-sells the beating.
So allow me to play devil's advocate for a second. Vince McMahon's booking on the level or fallen to the wayside?
It's hard to say.
Baby, it's at the bottom of a crevice.
It's hard to say what's Vince's booking or what's anyone else's booking at this point, because we don't know how much creative control creative department have and how much of that is all Vince. We don't know how much of the final script for WrestleMania was purely Vince. We don't know how much of the WrestleMania script was Triple H's input. We don't know how. Same goes for Raw. We don't know how much goes into what from who. I know Vince has the overall say, but not all the ideas are his.
No.
And this is where we can't really say whether. And I get annoyed with people online saying, "Oh, it's all Vince's bad. It's all Vince's fault, and it'll be better when Triple H is in charge." Possibly. But at the same time, how do we know that all these ideas aren't just coming from the creative staff and Vince is just going, okay.
And each segment is produced by a different person.
Yeah.
It's not one producer, it's multiple producers. Some of them are former wrestlers, yes, but it's still not. It's almost like you have this 3-hour episode of Raw, but the whole episode doesn't have one producer and one director, like say another TV show does. It's like you're watching a mini-series in one go. So you got the first episode produced by somebody, or multiple somebodies. Then you have the second hour produced by multiple somebodies, and you have the third hour produced by multiple somebodies. So,
well, let's look at the.
And different writers are for each segment. So they have to make it cohesive. And who's to say if somebody doesn't come in and say, okay, you got to change this, this, and this, but it doesn't flow together anymore after that.
Well, let's take a second to talk about this, because, I mean, we're on about Vince's booking on the level or off the level. The first 2 hours of Raw were completely on the level. We don't know if that was Vince or somebody else. The last hour was not on the level. We don't know if that was Vince or somebody else. Yeah. There's no way to say if it's Vince's booking or not.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, on that note, guys, we're coming up to the last half hour of the show. Please make sure to go and give our friends at Just Saying a follow. Be sure to follow the Ringside Ramblers, and of course, don't forget Mind of Carnage as well. And if you want to hear them all, you can hear every single one of them on our app that you can get off the Google Store. Just search for Levels of Wrestling, all as one word, and you'll see our logo just there waiting for you. Download it straight to Android, and you can get this anytime, anywhere. Who doesn't want that? It's always best when you haven't got anything to read on the bathroom, just saying. So as we go into this half hour, guys, Paul, I know you've experienced a few this week. I've experienced a few. What is everyone's weekly cuisine?
Wow, there's a whole bunch of them. But whoever that asshat was last night that said that we were having a nice conversation about Mr. Roman Reigns, the hot topic of the moment, and he said, basically Roman sucks and he needs to get rid of his contacts. That was his big preach about why Roman is terrible. He needs to get rid of his contacts.
Oh no, the contacts have made Roman Reigns a bad wrestler, guys.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That is the level of people that we're dealing with here on Twitter, where they are simply hating on this guy because he's good looking. Fact. They're hating on him because he's good looking.
People like that I'm not a big fan of. I can get behind that.
Yep, and that's why Daniel Bryan is over, because he looks like a fucking troll. That's why he looks like the casual fan.
He looks like a garden gnome.
Yeah. I don't actually have a weekly cuisine.
Oh wow, you've had a nice quiet week on Twitter then, I assume.
Well, no, I mean my weekly cuisine. I don't have an issue with individual people. I have issues with certain ideas that are going around on Twitter. And some of these ideas include stuff like being able to do a Mexican. You shouldn't be allowed to do a Mexican wave in wrestling if you're in a live crowd, because it's not right for the wrestlers. Sorry, but if they're not entertaining you, you entertain yourself.
That's called masturbation, my friend. Don't do that in public.
No, but if you're going to go and see a show for entertainment purposes, such as wrestling, and the show does not entertain you, such as the main event of Monday Night Raw, you are entitled to a certain degree to entertain yourself, as long as it's within respectable boundaries of the wrestlers. And by that I mean no personal chants, no go die, that sort of stuff. No giving people the middle finger for the sake of giving them the middle finger. if you don't like what they're doing in the ring, let them carry on with what they're doing in the ring. Start your chant, start a Mexican wave if you really, really, really want to. But don't give them grief per se. And the people that seem to think that, one, seem to think that that's okay, and two, seem to think that doing anything, even in the slightest bit, is disrespectful. They're the people that are my annoyance on Twitter for this week.
Okay. I have two. I've got one that was the same as Paul's, but another comment this person made. Tony, I believe was his name. Despicable name. He believes that if you buy a ticket to a wrestling event, that you can actually say and do whatever you feel. No. Just because you buy a ticket doesn't mean that you can shout abuse at the divas. It doesn't mean that you can say however you feel towards them. It's not deemed as fun. It's actually sexual harassment.
Yeah,
Now,
there are limits.
Yeah, his opinion was that if he buys a ticket and he goes to an event, he can say what he wants. On that logic, I can walk into a store, I can pay for a drink, but then I can take a shit on the cashier. That's not how it works.
And I'll spit it back in the cashier's face.
Exactly. It's not how it works. Life doesn't work around, I purchased this, that's my rules, deal with it. I mean,
Well, sorry, go ahead, Craig.
I was going to say, for someone who works in retail, if I sold someone a video game and they came back and they threw their console at me because they didn't like the game, I would definitely be pressing charges. For a wrestler, I mean, to be told that your sex life is more interesting than the match that you're in is kind of a bad thing. But at the same time, that doesn't give you the right to say, well, you suck cock, get over it, you're a shit wrestler. If you think someone's bad, just tell them they're bad. It's that easy. Don't be an ass about it.
Or start a Mexican wave.
Wow. Riled up. My second one actually goes to the people that were hating on WrestleMania 31. If you guys think that WrestleMania 31 was bad, you need to stop watching wrestling because you don't understand wrestling. I don't mean like you don't understand the shows, and you're entitled to your opinion, but your opinion is blatantly wrong in this case. When the majority of people are telling you that something is good, you maybe need to rethink why you disliked a product. I mean, if your reasoning was Sting's too old, but Undertaker's amazing, then there's something wrong there.
No. Their logic is it's Roman Reigns.
If your issue is because you're watching the show and you want new guys, but you pop every time that DX or NWO show up, you need to get a grip, right? You can't have it both ways. Take one way, don't be hypocritical, and just enjoy the show.
Yeah, at least I was consistent in saying I wanted new guys and not liking NWO and DX turning up. At least I was consistent there. So, Christo, what's your week in Wizzy?
Well, I'd have to say I have to agree with all of you. The crowd wasn't that great. I have to agree with Craig and Tony's comments, figuring that, he buys a ticket, he can do whatever or say whatever the hell he wants. That's not necessarily the case. Not only is it disrespectful to the talent that's performing, but it's also disrespectful to the people around him. There are children that are at these shows, and it comes across as, it won't kill you to kind of have a little decorum when you're out. You can think and feel whatever you want, but saying it is another matter, because like they say, once you say it, you can't ever take it back.
One thing I do have to give credit to, and that was the guy who had the sign, and this isn't me saying the sign was correct, but the sign that said Roman Reigns is a wank pheasant. I want to give props to that guy purely for getting it past security and getting it into the arena. I don't know how you did that. You shouldn't have been able to do that, but somehow it happened.
$50 says he wrote the last part once he was in the arena.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you don't get away with stuff like that unless you've got a marker pen with you.
Yeah. I think, that's basically, I have to agree with all of you on the Weekly Wizzy. I don't really have a personal one. I've been kind of quiet on Twitter. I avoid Twitter when I'm watching Monday Night Raw now, just because every time I make a comment on something I don't like, I end up getting... There's not a friendly discussion about this stuff. When I post something about something I don't like, I get flamed.
Oh,
So I stopped posting because, I'm going to be honest with you folks, I don't have the energy to engage. I don't. It's just like, I'm sorry, but this is my opinion. If you say, how come you feel that way? Or, well, why do you say that? Great, let's have a discussion. But if I'm going to be attacked, that's why I haven't live tweeted Raw in months. Because I got tired of being yelled at over Twitter. I was like, I don't have the patience for this. I blocked a hell of a lot of people. Because I'm sorry, no. Like,
if I did that, we'd have no followers left, I swear.
Well,
I mean, I purposely tweeted out this week to ask what people's unpopular opinions were. And you know what?
Well, but it's one if you have an unpopular opinion, great, that's fine. I don't even mind if you disagree with me, that's fine. But I would rather have a productive conversation than having the feeling that they're bashing me over the head with a frying pan, trying to get me to change my mind. It's not going to happen, people. If you believe in the Zodiac, I'm a Taurus.
Yeah, but
good luck.
Let Craig finish.
I was going to say, we had like 486 people tweet in. At least 300 of those were separate, unpopular opinions. If I replied to every one of them that I didn't like or disagreed with, because, my God, I disagreed with a lot of them, I would have no one left. Because there was a lot of things that were said that just didn't make sense, but there was a lot of things that I think a lot of people think, but no one says. For instance, one of my favorite ones was, Hulk Hogan was overrated, and everyone tears into him for it. But no one tears in to the Ultimate Warrior and says how bad a wrestler he was.
Yeah,
there's some truth behind it.
There is some truth behind it.
I also have to agree with the one that I saw, which was Hogan slamming Andre was the most overrated WrestleMania moment in history. Can't help but agree with that.
Paul, what's your thoughts on that? I know you're quite a fan of the older wrestling, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, we lost Paul again.
And for the unpopular opinion, I'd have to agree about the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, I think there was a few of them. I mean, there was one about the Ultimate Warrior being, completely overrated. There was one opinion that the Hall of Fame isn't important to wrestling fans. Like, it's a made-up Hall of Fame for made-up wrestlers. Why should we find it important? And then, of course, we had another one that was, I believe it was along the lines of, The Rock shouldn't be counted as a black champion. He is a Samoan champion, not African American.
I partly agree with that. That's kind of true.
Yeah,
I tread the line very finely nowadays.
Yeah.
He's mixed race. He's part Samoan, part African American. So, I don't agree with necessarily count him as an African American champion.
Yep. Paul, you there? Are you there, Paul?
Nah, he's not. Okay.
He's there in spirit.
He's there in spirit. Let me ask you a question then, guys. Will there be another black African American heavyweight champion while Vince is alive?
I'm trying to think. They don't have anyone in development that could step up to the bat and do that.
Out of all of them on the roster, I think there's only 6, isn't there?
Out of all the people on the roster, the only one that even stands a chance is Henry.
Yeah, so make that 7.
Big E, no.
I think Big E and
Kofi Kingston.
He could.
Big E, Kofi Kingston, and Xavier Woods. I'm going to say no to all 3 of them.
No, those are guys who are mid-card guys.
Yeah, they're mid-card
Simple as
guys.
that.
Henry's the only guy who's really been able to do it. I'm trying to think of anyone else.
R-Truth's a mid-card guy.
R-Truth's not even a mid-card. R-Truth's bottom of the card guy.
He's low mid-card, which is a shame.
He is a great wrestler.
I know
he is a great wrestler. And that leaves the primetime players.
The primetime play. Yeah, they won't be going anywhere anytime
I would
soon.
consider Titus O'Neil if he could sort out his mouth, but other than that,
I'd consider Titus, and I'd consider Darren Young if he could sort his character out a little.
Yeah.
If he could get a consistent character going, he could do all right.
I'd even like to see those guys carry the tag or the tag title.
Yeah,
It's happened before. Yeah.
I just want the regular tag titles back. None of this copper penny shit.
There used to be 2.
Yeah. But, I mean, there's no need for these copper titles. They're devalued. But no, I had this discussion the other day that obviously there was a problem with, people saying The Rock wasn't a black champion. And then I had this thought, well, will there be another black champion while Vince is alive? And I think realistically it comes down to it's not about Vince being a racist or anything like that. It's there is no black talent on the roster or even in developmental that is capable of being a heavyweight status.
There will be soon.
Yeah,
Nation.
Nation. Yeah. I mean, that guy is so ready that he could do that.
Yeah. But the sad thing is, though, is that there was a lot of good African-American wrestlers on the roster. They just weren't utilized properly.
Correct.
Like you were saying, like R-Truth, he is a good wrestler. He could have been utilized a lot better than he was.
Who's the guy that you guys run about, just?
Nation. I'll send you a link. In fact, I'll go tweet him out just now. Let's find a video and we'll see what I can do. But no, he is a phenomenal wrestler.
Oh, really?
Yep.
High flyer and power.
Amazing.
I like how this sounds.
Yep.
I'll
Yeah, I
send
think
you
he'd
the
be-
top 45 moves.
I think he would be very interesting on the main roster.
Look forward to it. He might not make it up in Vince's lifetime. We never know. But
Yeah, that could be like 5 years from now, so I'm okay with that.
yeah, I can agree with that.
It's going to be a sad day, though, when that finally does happen. Like, wrestling won't know what to do.
Well, and here's a question. I mean, do you think the main roster could do with some house cleaning?
Yes, definitely.
Although,
There are
every
a lot
time
of
I say this, I
Besides
think...
Big Show and Kane?
Fandango and Adam Rose, why are you guys there? Los Matadores, why are you guys there?
Yeah.
People like
Because
that.
you need a tag division.
Forget Los Matadores. The Lucha Dragons fill that role just as well.
Yeah, but you
Fill
just
that
said
role.
you just said that you want Kalisto away from Sin Cara.
For now, that's fine. I'd just get rid of Los Matadores. That gimmick is one of the worst gimmicks that I've seen.
Yeah, I would prefer to have them back as Epico and Primo. Just saying.
Yes, I agree.
Wouldn't it just be funny one day if like one of them disappeared and it was like Epico versus Fernando? Like you just have them fight each other, but you have one of them come out as Epico or Primo.
No, screw that.
I would love for that. Like it's a way of having like both tag teams on the roster at once, but they could never face each other.
No, I'd prefer them to lose the Los Matadors and just come back as Primo and Epico. I think that'd be alright.
Yeah, do you know what, Paul? I'm watching
Thing
this
is, though,
video.
is
On you go. Sorry.
the thing is, though, is that if you start purging the roster of basically jobbers, then guys that are mid-carders get to slide down into that jobber status.
And that takes away
It's a
from the-
never-ending cycle.
Yep,
Well,
and that
yeah.
ruins the tier system of the levels of wrestling, and then
Well,
you don't
maybe
wanna-
not. Sorry, Craig, go ahead.
I was gonna say what Paul just said about taking away jobbers. If you take away a jobber, you then put a mid-carder into that spot, and all you're doing is devaluing your main event slots.
Yeah, but okay, if we look at people that can reasonably be gone here, we've got Adam Rose, we've got the Bunny, who Lord knows what's happening there. You know, you've got Christian, I don't know why he's still classed as being on the roster, you've got Diego, you've got Fernando, you've got Fandango, you've got Jack Swagger, Heath Slater, you have... Hold on, I'm looking through the purge list right now.
To the
I mean,
I like that
could-
you have a list here.
Yeah, could some of them do with repackaging?
Yes, Zack Ryder is a guy who, now that he's bigger, could do with repackaging.
I think you could probably repackage a guy like Adam Rose as well.
You could probably repackage Jack Swagger. Actually, I think Jack Swagger's past it. I think Heath Slater could be repackaged. I love
Yes.
it.
And not a comedy repackaged, Jesus.
No. Fandango and I'm gonna say that Diego and Fandango Diego, Fernando, and Fandango are three that all need to go. Forget repackaging.
Yeah.
They need to go.
Someone asked me
Fandango,
earlier.
you can easily fix. You
Oh, yeah,
easily fix him. Yeah,
You
you
could
put him
even
with Tyler
easily-
Breeze.
You could
The
even
Miz manager.
you could even repackage Fernando and Diego and the Los Matadores.
I'd just get
Like
rid
you
of
really
them.
could.
I'd just get rid of them, to be honest.
I would be happy to give Fandango a sleaze gimmick and not a dancing sleaze. The one that he had before, they just randomly took away.
Pimp gimmick.
Yeah. Maybe not a pimp, but definitely like a greaseball kind of sleaze.
I'm thinking Saturday Night Fever kind of gimmick.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That would work. That's fine.
You know, with the, he's always doing his hair, not so much the Fandangoing gimmick, but definitely have him up there, or even move him down to NXT with Tyler Breeze and have the whole vanity thing.
I don't want Tyler Breeze anywhere near the main roster. Sorry.
No, but Fandango doesn't have to stay on the main roster. They could put him down at NXT.
Oh no, I
think
just meant Tyler Breeze. I don't want him anywhere near the main roster at all.
But this is what I'm saying, is that if you could move Fandango down to NXT, have him kind of create a stable with Tyler Breeze, and they could just be part of NXT.
Yeah.
And just kind of be like the big names in NXT. Because it looks like, or I get the impression that they want to make NXT like a brand. And it can be the yellow brand, if you will.
I get the impression that they want this to be a brand without actually wanting it to be a brand.
Yeah.
It's Vince's way of saying, oh yeah, we want it to be a brand, but I don't really think that's what Vince means when he says.
I think Paul hit on this perfectly. It's WWE's faux indie company.
Yeah.
See, as a guy who doesn't like the indies, I don't necessarily agree with that.
But you like NXT because it's got a high production value. I bet anything, if Ring of Honor had that production value, you would probably enjoy it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big thing about NXT. It's indies with production value.
Main reason I like NXT is it's not 3 hours freaking long.
Yeah, that's true. It is only an hour. Sometimes I feel that's a little bit too short, but
Sometimes, yeah. I mean, 1 to 2 hours is fine. But I would rather watch NXT than watch Raw purely because Raw right now, with the exception of this Monday, it normally feels like it's dragging on forever and ever and ever.
Well, because there's not really, like, the storylines are haphazard. They don't seem congruent. And they don't seem to follow a logical path.
That's true.
Like, even my grandma's afternoon soaps followed a logical path, if you will.
Yeah.
I would love to think that maybe 6 months from now, NXT isn't deemed as developmental completely anymore. It's just deemed as the show on the network.
Aren't they doing Tough Enough again anyway?
They are indeed.
Yes, they are. I am looking forward to Tough Enough.
There you go. There's your developmental.
Well, the word developmental is so misleading because half of the guys on the roster are former international or independent stars.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like
it's not even developed.
You've got guys like Zayn
Re-indoctrination camp.
Zayn and Owens, for example, people are like, oh, it's developmental. Zayn and Owens could put on a better match than most of the guys on the main roster.
That's true.
Yeah.
And I don't think there are many people that can dispute that, to be completely honest with you. So the fact that everyone views it as being development, I don't agree with.
I would have to agree with you, Chris. I don't see it as being developmental. As more of the WWE wrestling school.
To me, developmental is the ones that you don't even see on NXT, the ones that are backstage.
The ones working at the Performance Center.
Yeah, that's development.
And
WWE developmental is all the indies and Ring of Honor. That's what WWE developmental is nowadays.
Well, yeah, because didn't they like their that word developmental used to be Florida Championship Wrestling, and it used to be Ohio Valley Wrestling. That was their developmental territories.
No, that's
right?
that. That's
Deep
them
South, I
poaching
think it was.
everybody. Is what is
Yeah.
what I meant. They're poaching all the indie talent.
Yes, they are.
It's a long way off yet, but there's something I'd like to talk about. Coming out of Mania, is there anyone we see winning Money in the Bank this year?
Dean Ambrose.
Yes, that
I
was
said,
mine.
I said it earlier. It's Dean Ambrose.
I could see it being Dean Ambrose, and if Rollins has got the title, that would be instant storyline feud. Right
What's
there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Dean Ambrose, and your main event for next year is either going to be Brock versus Reigns again, or you're going to have Reigns versus Rollins versus Ambrose.
Well, my argument is at the moment, if they are going to try and elevate the IC and US title, who says there only has to be one Money in the Bank?
There will be. There'll only be one.
Oh, I know that will be, but who says there has to be?
I would like to think they could do it for more than one title. Like, they'll change the contract this year so they can challenge anyone.
Yes. In that sense, I think Mizdow is a fair shout as well.
Yep.
Mizdow's already had it, though. Are they going to make him be the guy that's had it twice as well?
But if they make him the guy who failed the first time and wins the second,
Then it just seems like the first time was a completely failed attempt and pointless.
which we already see it as that anyway.
Ooh, we've had a question through the app. Awesome.
Oh, have we?
Yeah, we have.
No, sweet. That's
Thank you for sending in questions through the app. That's why we developed it. That's all for you. Considering roster size, do you think a brand split would be good? Also, do you think another title belt should be reintroduced, e.g. a returning mid-card like a cruiserweight or a top-tier belt?
a cruiserweight title would be perfect.
Yes.
In terms of the brand split, it depends. They could call up a couple more guys from NXT and have a full-on brand split, and that would work well. If they do it as it is, who do you have on Raw and who do you have on SmackDown? It draws enough viewing power to both shows. That's the problem you get. You don't want,
Cena on Raw. You put Cena on Raw, you put Bryan on SmackDown.
Yep.
But
I'd be tempted to put Cena on SmackDown.
I would too, because he holds the U.S. title.
He's coming. I was thinking more.
Yeah,
He's
he
coming to the
doesn't
end
work
of his-
Tuesdays.
And he's coming to the end of his career
He's
too.
coming to the end of his career. That's where he started his career. Let's put him back there. Make a new brand of SmackDown superstars, much like Cena was.
Well, I'm going to say, it feels to me at the moment like, and unfortunately this shouldn't be the case, but SmackDown is the B show. They would need to try and fix that first, and for that to happen, you have to have equal story development.
Yep.
Which is something they don't currently have, because SmackDown at the moment is just the same as Raw.
Well, I honestly believe that SmackDown is going to be your storyline show for the IC title and your tag division.
That wouldn't be too bad.
I mean,
and
that way you've got your main show, which has then got your WWE title, maybe your one main event storyline, and then you've got your US title, which is John Cena.
Yeah.
I'd swap it around with Cena and Bryan, to be honest.
Oh, of course, but I know realistically they would be more likely to have Cena on Raw.
Yeah.
You got to remember merchandise.
And this way, like, I would also like them to see with SmackDown enough with the Raw recaps.
Enough with the
seriously.
recaps on Raw, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, like we don't need to remember what happened a week ago because we all pretty much remember. And if we don't,
what happened 20 minutes ago either.
yeah, and if we don't, we can look at the internet and see what the results of last week was.
For those of
Unless
you
it was like an epic spot, like a oh my gosh epic spot. Like if they did the recap of Brock Lesnar tearing apart the announce table and F5ing the cameraman, yes, that's a recap you want to have. You don't need to have a recap of the main event. It was so bad.
Yeah, Lord knows that was piss poor. Yeah, I feel like, I mean, that was recapped. I mean, that was being mentioned by Byron Saxton every 20 bloody minutes. After every single match, it felt like Byron Saxton was talking about what Lesnar did to the announcer's table, and I was like, we get it, Byron. No one gives a fuck.
But no one
Mind
cared
you-
because it was Byron.
Well, and in Byron's defense, at least he stayed on topic. Unlike some of the other Raws where they're talking about everything but what was going on in the ring or what had happened that night.
True story.
I don't care about selfies. I really don't.
And another thing to mention, why was Bad News Barrett better on commentary than the commentators?
Because it's Bad News Barrett.
he was legitimately better.
Because you know he could replace any one of them because his career is faltering.
Well, and that might be a natural progression for Bad News Barrett once he's done in the ring to progress to color commentary.
Yeah, I could see him being heel commentator, replace JBL.
Yeah, I think he'd be really good.
Hell, CM Punk did it for God knows how long.
Yep.
Guys,
I have a question also.
go ahead.
From Lady Cadium there on Twitter. If wrestling is best as a simulated sport, then should we really get mad who is choosing to win any match?
Yes. Because there are certain characters you just don't care about.
No, I'm going to say no. If it's a simulated sport, the word simulated suggests programmed. If something is programmed, we're just the ones who press play. So,
But
no.
at the same time, it's sports entertainment.
Correct, it is, and it's their duty to entertain. It's not our duty to make the entertainment.
Yeah, and
Well,
if they aren't entertaining, then...
Well, I could see her
Hold on,
point.
let me reword this. Let me reword this. Do wins and losses matter? That's basically what she means. Do wins and losses matter?
To a certain extent.
Yeah, to some extent.
To a certain extent, yes, I can see where her point is, and that you watch an episode of TV and you got the good guys against bad guys, and it's usually a foregone conclusion that the good guys win, unless of course it's a cliffhanger. And as we know that the matches, well, what goes on in the ring is real. The outcome is usually predetermined, as evident of John Cena showing up at Raw with a "Champ is Here" U.S. title T-shirt. That didn't happen overnight.
Yeah.
So you knew that win was planned before he even beat Rusev.
I'd like to think that...
So, way to tip your hand, WWE, but I think there's a fine line because we know it's predetermined, even though we don't want to know it's predetermined.
Daniel Bryan... In Daniel Bryan's rise, he lost almost every pay-per-view main event that he was in.
Yeah.
He then won at WrestleMania, but his win was only important because he'd lost so many times.
Yeah,
and
if
he'd
he
been
had
held down so much.
Yeah.
There's an art to it, and if there's going to be a payoff, then I think that some losses are worth it. If it's not going to be a payoff, and you just have the IC title champion losing week after week after week after week, like was the case with Barrett at one point, then there's just no need for it. In that case, wins and losses do matter because all credibility goes out the window.
Yeah.
What do you think, Paul? Wins and losses, do they matter?
Yes and no, because someone like Dean Ambrose is bulletproof, where he doesn't win ever, and he's still massively over. He could get a push tomorrow, and everyone would believe it. Whereas someone else like a Wade Barrett, he loses quite a few matches in a row cleanly, and he's looked at as, oh geez, he stinks. So a lot of it depends on the character and the push and how and even how the losses are booked. I mean, because Roman Reigns, he looked great coming out of WrestleMania. Against Brock Lesnar. Did he win? No, but he looked good doing it. So,
do you know who looked better?
Yeah, it's
the man who cashed in. The man who cashed in.
Me.
Yes, Paul.
Mr.
You
Money
always
in the
look
sack.
better.
Me. Oh, that's right.
I think it's a lot like other sports statistics. You have, when you get to the series and you get to the finals, the wins and losses mean more when they're looking for the berth to get into the playoffs. Their season determines where they're going to be in the playoffs, and then you got the rest of the guys in the cellar, and the stats really don't matter because they're not coming out of the cellar.
That's true. Guys, as we come to the end of the show, do we have any other questions that have came in, or are we good to...
I don't.
Yeah, I got one more. Thoughts on the rumors that Reigns might face Big Show or Kane at Extreme Rules, but we already kind of mentioned that, didn't we?
We did. I'm okay with it on the provision that Reigns literally pummels the shit out of him.
No
whoever it is.
Cares. Just get the match over and done with. Have it be a 3-minute
I care.
match.
I care for the progression of Reigns. I'm invested in Reigns' story now because I want to see him succeed.
I'm more invested in Reigns than I am in Big Show and Kane. So yeah, let's get rid of them. That's the only reason I'm saying a 3-minute match, because it's Kane and Big Show. If you give him a 10-minute match against, let's say, Dolph Ziggler, I will not mind. If you give him a 20-minute match against Dolph Ziggler, I probably will not mind.
I mind.
It's because it's Ziggler.
Yeah.
Okay, better example. Give him a 20-minute match against Daniel Bryan.
Oh, I mind again. Why are you doing
All right,
this, Chris?
20-minute match against whoever besides Ziggler and Daniel Bryan.
And Big Show and
Essentially,
Kane.
And Big Show and Kane.
I'm just happy so long as they try and make Reigns now look impressive. Not strong, believable and impressive.
And this is the thing, people relate better to believable characters.
Yep.
And that's why Daniel Bryan got over, and
that's why there's a mixed result for Cena.
I'm just saying, if I'm the guy who's just had my belt opportunities taken away from me
I'm pissed.
because someone cashed in, I am angry. I am beyond angry. So put him in a match with Big Show or Kane and have him destroy them. And I mean viciously.
What about you do a handicap?
Oh,
What about
have
you do a
him
handicap match?
I would have him do one after
Have
the
kill them
other.
both.
The only way I would have that happen is if you had Kane get in the ring first, Roman Reigns kicks the crap out of him that badly that Big Show steps off, wants nothing to do with it, and Big Show backs off because he doesn't want to get in the ring with Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Well, hold on here. Let me start flexing some fantasy booking muscles here. In order to really get Reigns over, you can either push him as a super babyface, or you can make a heel that is heely enough that you're going to cheer him. Stephanie is that heel. So you start a Reigns versus Authority angle.
No, I would straight up turn him heel. I honestly think that Reigns
But then the
beat-
fans win.
No, fans win. You can't do that. That's the last thing you can do.
And you can't turn him heel while Rollins has the title.
On that note,
You just can't
leave
do
that
it.
question with you guys. Send us in your thoughts using our app. What a better reason to use it. Give us your thoughts. Should Reigns be turned heel, or should he be put into a position where he stays a badass babyface? Give us your thoughts. Let us know via the app. If you don't have the app and maybe you're on an iPhone, send it in via Twitter. Either way, though, we want to hear from you. Now, we've been Levels of Rest. Oh, on you go.
You can also find us on Facebook.
You can find us on Facebook, too. Yes, you can. We've been the Levels of Wrestling, guys. This has been Lowdown. Be sure to tune in tomorrow night to catch up with Breakdown, because tomorrow night we're going to be discussing the best and worst of the booking decisions within WWE and also of wrestling. We're going to expand slowly away from just WWE as a product, and we want to hear the best and worst booking decisions that you guys have came up with. So please, send them in, let us know, and be sure to catch us tomorrow night. From all of us here, we'll see you around.